Hello again, this is Fraser Campbell from Target Applications, and this is an updated video on the Emergency Community Monitor tool that we have produced for the social housing sector in the UK in response to the coronavirus crisis that's ongoing at the moment. This video is to take you through the now live tool to allow you to see exactly how it can work for your housing association and some of the benefits that you're going to be able to pass on to your tenants by using this system. So a quick explanation of how the system works. It uses email and SMS predominantly to message your tenants to check in on their critical factors, how they're doing for their food supply, their medication supply, their income, but also on their well-being factors, which I think are probably going to become more important even than the critical factors. The well-being factors, of course, are social well-being, physical well-being, and mental well-being. So the system, when uploaded with your tenant's details, will send out an initial tenant contact via SMS or email. It will ask the tenant to identify themselves as being in one of the government's defined high-risk groups, or if they are in one of the low-risk groups. And that will then categorise them within the tool as a high-risk tenant or a low-risk tenant. High-risk tenants will then receive weekly check-in emails and SMSs for them to update their status on the critical and the well-being factors. They'll also have the opportunity to opt out, to leave a comment about how they're feeling. But really the predominant reason for doing this is to get an up-to-date status for them. Do they have food and medication? Do they need you to help them with food or medication? Has their income been drastically affected? Do they need directed to a resource that will allow them to claim the benefits that are due to them? The low-risk tenants will get a similar questionnaire but asking different questions. It will also check on their income and their well-being as well, but it will also look to draw out the idea of any possible volunteers to build an army of tenant volunteers that can allow you to help the tenants without using your own resources that could be put elsewhere. So the low-risk tenants receive a fortnightly check-in email or SMS, which is less frequent than obviously than the high-risk tenants, but they will also get the chance to opt out. Any that you don't pick up using the automated digital means, the tool has the facility to enable you to very, very easily call through your tenants for whom you have mobile or landline numbers for, fill in the survey on their behalf using the system almost like a mini CRM, and then all of their records are recorded alongside those that filled it in via SMS and email. The main things we can do with this information that we're gathering are, number one, to identify individual tenants who are in need of our help. If we can identify a tenant very quickly who is struggling with food, who is struggling with medication for a pre-existing condition they have, or maybe is not going to be able to pay their rent because they have lost a part-time job or lost certain benefits that they had, we'll be able to flag and highlight those tenants to allow us to act on that. We'll also be able to track the well-being of individuals and of the community as a whole. Well-being is going to be a really, really important factor over the coming weeks and probably months. People are going to start feeling the effects of the isolation that they are under, and people are going to start feeling the effects on their social well-being, their mental health, most likely, and even the amount of exercise they're able to get. So we can monitor their well-being, track it and trend it over time, and identify different areas where different well-being factors are being affected. We can also look to deploy help resources to these people based on what they have indicated they need or the states that they have indicated that they are in. So if a tenant is, for example, indicating that they want to get more exercise or not getting regular exercise as part of their well-being questions, we can send them exercises, maybe if they were over 70, exercises, 5 simple exercises you can do without even leaving your couch. And it would be things like leg lifts and arm lifts, just anything to get them a little bit of regular exercise. The same with if they are experiencing loneliness, we can, or they've experienced a change in their income, we can direct them to the correct sites, the correct government sites, to make sure they're getting the benefits that are due to them. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we can identify volunteers. We can identify people within our tenant base who are willing to volunteer some of their time or some of their own resources. And we can then deploy them to various organisations or charities or functions you have within your own housing association, which will allow them to be put to best use in helping the more vulnerable tenants in the community. And I think as time goes on, that's going to become a really, really important factor in enabling us to provide a service to the tenants who's going to help them through this crisis. So let's jump in and take a quick look at the system now. This is how it will look. Your staff will have a maximum of around 2 to 3 admin users for logging into this online mobile or desktop based application. We'll also then be able to give you as many users as you need who can access various parts of the system, possibly not the database access, but who can access certain parts to allow them to make phone calls from the system, phone calls to those who are not responding. So this is our overview page. We can see our well-being indicators, how they sit at the moment, and we can track and trend those factors over time. We can see a response rate, and we can see an overview of various different reports that we're producing from the data that we're gathering through the questionnaires. So we can see that we have 2 high-risk tenants who are reporting food and supply shortages to the 3 who are reporting medication shortages. Now, of course, this is all demonstration data that we have in the system, but I'm sure you can in your mind multiply it out to your entire tenant base. So let's have a quick look at the surveys. Each tenant will initially get the same survey to start with for the very first time. We'll be able to customize your logo, all of the introduction page text, and allow you to give them various pieces of information in the introduction page. Then our standard survey asks, are you in one of the following vulnerable or high-risk groups? We will be updating these as the government updates their recommendations on what constitutes a high-risk group. But for now, these are what the government is suggesting constitutes someone who is high risk. The tenant will tick yes or no, big bold letters, and then when they click next, that will have logged them within the system as whatever they've selected. So a high-risk tenant gets questions on things like food and supplies, medication, income, which they can skip if they want. They might not want to indicate that. And then their well-being questions will come through these 5-point sliders. So they'll be able to tell us if they feel lonely, or if they are getting enough exercise, or if they are feeling positive given the circumstances, which is our way of wording our mental health question. Then they will get the chance to indicate would they be okay being in touch with a volunteer, and also give us a little comment. We're going to see a lot of people that are using this just as another means of expressing themselves, as another point of contact, and I think it's going to be really useful for us to be able to give them this outlet and offer them a bit of social contact. Then we can ask, this is our opt-out, can we contact you again in 1 week's time? Yes or no. With the full survey, you'll get a thank you page here, which can be completely customized to the individual housing association. We can use it to give any information we want, direct people who need benefits to the right benefits page, people who haven't got exercise to the exercise page, and we can completely customize it to exactly what you need. And then we can preview the survey for the low risk people. It's very different. When they come into the surveys, the high risk or the low risk surveys the second time, they will go straight into another welcome page which is individualized to the high risk survey or the low risk survey, but they will get asked the same questions, so we can track and trend the answers over time. So are you a member in self-isolation? Is there cases of the virus in your household right now? We ask about the income again, and we also ask about the well-being in the low-risk survey as well. We ask, would you be able to volunteer some of your time and support to the residents? Then, if they select yes, we ask what they would be willing to do. All of these questions are set for the moment, but can be customised to a certain degree given what the availability of these things are for the particular housing association that we're onboarding. So we can customise most aspects of this to exactly what you're going to need over time. Then we ask again for an opt-out. Can we check in with you again in 2 weeks' time? So all of the responses will come from our overall tenant list, which is where we monitor things like the contact details, the age, and whether they're at risk, whether they've opted out, whether they have had corona and recovered from it, or whether a member of their family has. And then we can start looking into customizing all of the messages. Again, these are very, very easy to customize. We'll be able to customize what we say in the initial messages using tokens like their first name. We'll be able to customize any follow-up messages that go the second, third, fourth, and further on times via SMS and via email. And we'll also be able to customize the welcome screens, the initial welcome screen, high-risk welcome screen, the low-risk welcome screen, and the exact same for the final screens, the thank you pages. We can customize them to include the right telephone numbers, any information you want to put in here. It's extremely easy, as you can see, to just type them in as if it's a Word document and save them, and that updates it for any further surveys. So once our responses start coming in, we can start breaking them down into the different lists. We've got things like high-risk tenants who need medication, who need food and supplies, or all high-risk tenants, and we can click into their individual surveys. You know, if Karen Angle here, she's got no supplies and no medication, we might want to give her a call, or we might want to see maybe what she said in the comments questions. She said, I've run out of my medication. That's the sort of thing we would want to know and want to be able to help with. We can also monitor the low risk tenants for various things, including a list of the volunteers that we can then export, as well as any of these other lists. We can export them to Excel and to PDF. We can monitor who has volunteered time for what, and we can use this to assign resources to where they're possible to assign. One of the key features, and this is a really important thing for social housing, is that not everybody has digital contact details. So what we've made it really easy to do is send out the questionnaires to the majority of tenants for whom you have contact details, and then we've made it extremely easy for you to use this system to then fill in via telephone on behalf of the tenants the questionnaires to update their status within the system so that everything's uniform across the board. It's very, very easy to do. We've got Graham Campbell here. We have his mobile, but he's not responded. Maybe he's got an old Nokia. What we can do is click on the link, fill in the survey on his behalf, and that logs him and all his details alongside all of the other ones into the high risk or low risk groups. It's very, very easy to use this. We can actually export it out and you can distribute it to various members of your team, and all they'll need to do is click on the individual link in the export, call the person for whom it's related to, and fill in the survey on their desktop or on their laptop or on their mobile. Very, very easy to manage. So I think I've shown you about all I can within this system. A lot of it happens in the background. It's an extremely intelligent system that we've put a really simple and easy to use user interface over the top of. It's going to be extremely easy to deploy as well. So I'll just quickly go back to my PowerPoint and I'll show you some of the benefits. One of them is that we're remotely communicating with tenants. It's going to be very, very difficult to maintain the telephone calls to tenants weekly or bi-weekly to make sure that they're doing okay, or even more frequently. We don't have to just restrict ourselves to doing things weekly or bi-weekly. We can also identify those who are in immediate need in real time and allow them to identify themselves so that we can then take that information as it's given to us and respond to it in whatever way we choose. We can monitor both the critical and the well-being indicators continuously for the entire tenant base, allowing us to have a really clear picture of what's going on. So we're not phoning somebody that's quite happily stocked up with food and they've got a relative bringing them medicine, and they were already on benefits, so their income didn't change, and they have enough social support that they're quite happy, when we could be spending that time phoning somebody who's a single occupancy, 89 years old, who cannot get out to the shops and who desperately needs our help right now. We can direct our resources to the right places, and then monitor the overall community automatically. So the cost of this will be different depending on who you are. For our existing feedback customers, CX feedback customers, sorry, we will be able to add it on for free, and for non-CX feedback customers, we'll be giving this away for $2,500, which is our cost price. That will be that isn't a contract for a set amount of time, for a set amount of users, or for a set amount of support. That includes everything you need until you don't need this tool anymore. We are not working as a not-for-profit on this, and we just want to be able to provide this tool to as many people as we have the capacity to provide it to, for as little a cost as possible, to enable us to keep our doors open, to enable us to keep providing the system, and to enable us to keep helping the tenants. All we need for you for the go-ahead is an Excel file or CSV file with a list of your tenants and their contact details. We can provide you with a template for that. We need a logo, which is 60 pixels high. And then we need your ideas for the initial message text, the follow-up message, and the introduction and thank you screens. We can provide a template for that, and you can just edit the template, set it, send it back to us, and we set you up. What we'll give you up front is our full information security and GDPR documents for you to perform a PIA if you need to. We already work with dozens of housing associations, the government itself, public bodies. We understand GDPR, we understand its importance, but we also understand that we need to move very, very quickly on this. So we can provide you upfront with exactly what you need to fill in the details you'll need to. And we will completely set up the system for you, give you full training for whoever needs it, via obviously online screen share methods, and then we will give you unlimited phone support throughout the entire duration of your usage of the tool. We would expect the implementation at this stage to take around 1 week, but that could be drastically shorter if you can provide us with this information quicker. So that's at the end of my demonstration. Thank you very, very much for having a look at this. I look forward to hearing from you to get your thoughts and ideas on how we can improve this as well. And if you have any questions at all, you can contact me directly on my mobile number in my email signature. Thank you very much.